Scottie Pippen made headlines about a few days ago, or maybe even a week ago. I don't remember when this headline came out precisely, but Scottie Pippen did announce he was going to do a no bull tour. I think it was like no bullshit tour or no bull tour with Luke Longley and Horace Grant. So he was doing this tour with them in Australia, and this was going to be about their time during their championship years with the Bulls, and I guess even before, just their time with the Bulls and with Michael Jordan, what it was like, and they were going to tell the real truth about what went down during those years, unlike how The Last Dance had portrayed them. Now, I want to say something that's going to strike people. I actually like the idea of them doing this tour, to be honest. I think this will be entertaining. They will have some interesting things to say, even if it's controversial. I always like to hear other people's side of the story. There's that saying, there's always, I think, three sides of the story: that person's side, the other person's side, and then there's the third person, I believe, who just decides to make up whatever story that he agrees with. Just so basically, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think it will be funny for sure. I'm sure they'll all say something stupid that'll generate headlines, but it will be entertaining. I think that's really the most important thing about it. Some people are going to say, well, I shouldn't say some people. I would say most people are going to say that Scottie Pippen is making a fool out of himself and that he's just destroying his legacy and he's going to regret all this. Now, this can be true for the most part, but I'm going to say something interesting. I feel Scottie Pippen has nothing to lose now. I definitely feel once you get older, after a certain point of time in your life, you can really be honest about how you feel about things and just not give a shit just because you don't have much to lose anymore. Most of your life is lived, most of your career is over. Just there's not really much left anymore. And I feel with Scottie Pippen, he's probably at that point in time in his life. Plus, he's already been humiliated too many times now the last few years. Obviously, with the last dance situation, now recently with his ex-wife Larsa going out with Marcus Jordan, just that's another humiliating experience for Scottie, obviously. Then there's the tragedy he suffered, I think, a few years ago when his eldest son, Antron Pippen, died, I believe, of an asthma attack. I think that's what killed his son. That really messed him up. So he's experienced a lot of horrific things the last few years. And I just think he probably doesn't care anymore what people really have to say. Well, maybe he does, to be honest, because he is a very sensitive guy. But I think it just doesn't faze him as much as it would in the past. So that's how I feel about that part of it. The other thing I will add to it is they should have brought this to the US. They should have brought this to the US. I think this would have been great had it been in the US because they could have made some good money going on a tour here. There are a lot of millennials, especially elder millennials like myself, that remember all 6 title runs by the Chicago Bulls that were old enough to take it all in. And for us, I think it would be very entertaining to buy a ticket to one of these events and actually be able to ask them some questions about just that time period, just about certain things. I know I would love to ask them some questions about just Michael Jordan in the sense like, what's like the most outrageous thing Jordan did to you during practice, or did he do any type of hazing, or what was something wild he did just that we don't know about? Just this shit like that. That's something I would like to ask them. I think they could have made some money if they went on a cross country tour. That would have been entertaining. I would have definitely bought a ticket if they came to my city just to see that event for sure. But I think they might have stumbled into something that future players will copy, because I think a lot of these guys have huge egos, super egos, to be honest. And to a large degree, you need to have big egos to make it to the NBA or these other sports leagues. I also think a lot of them believe that they're the greatest thing ever, and that that they're greater than what they perceive them to be. Like there's this delusion where they're not acknowledging reality or have the awareness of who they truly are as a player. And I think obviously that's the case with Scottie Pippen, where he thinks he was actually the best player on the Bulls. I've heard this in interviews before that he believes that he was better than Jordan. Obviously, that's not reality. Um, and then you have guys like Horace, who who also has a big ego, but also hurt in a way because he felt Michael always disrespected him and didn't give him respect and whatnot. So all these things play a role, I feel, with these guys, and that you got to assume that with other teams, there's probably that type of tension from former teammates, from all these other players, depending on how great of the team some of these former players played on. I think that some of them will have a platform to go on these revenge tours and tell interesting stories about their experiences playing for whatever legendary team that is, whether it's the Bulls, Lakers, whatnot. That to me would be interesting. Just they might have stumbled into a new format that of just going on tour, storytelling. Just that would be pretty cool to see other players do it, and not necessarily has to be a negative thing either. You can have guys who had positive experiences, like for example, maybe you have Magic Johnson, James Worthy going a cross country tour, talking about their Showtime days. Granted, I think they won't tell the truth; they would keep it G-rated, but you can have a lot of guys who could do that, and older people, older fans who lived during those eras would pay money to get a seat to the event to ask questions and just partake in that. That would be a lot of fun. Just my opinion about it.